Welcome back to my shop. In part 1 we started construction on the router station door. We glued up the wood blocks used for bit storage, we glued up and flattened the door panel, and we glued, assembled, and squared up the door. In this episode, we'll complete the bit storage and mount the door. We are going to start by squaring up the glued up blocks of wood that will become the bit storage. I'm going to grab a couple of router accessories that I want to be stored on the door. Keeping in mind where the inner shelves of the cabinet are located, I'm going to find their location. Here, I'm taking a very pretty piece of scrap wood, drilling a center hole to accept the crank that I use to raise and lower my router. I put a quick chamfer using a countersink. Add a quick and dirty chamfer using my chisel. I am next going to remove the ends of the blocks that have planer snipe, and then cut the blocks to their final length. Check their placement on the door. Here, I took a chisel and a block plane and removed the sharp corners. Using my square, I located and marked the position for the center screw hole. I didn't have screws long enough to go all the way through the block, so I drilled a larger hole to accept the head of the screw. Now I can drill a longer hole to accept the shank of the screw. What I'm doing here is laying out the locations for the holes that accept the bits. We need two types of holes, 1/2 inch and the 1/4 inch. Back over at the drill press to drill out the holes. I'm starting with the holes for the 1/4 inch router bits. I'm using a larger drill bit than 1/4 inch, so the router bits will fit easily into the holes. I will hit the holes with a countersink. This will make it easier to get those bits in and out of the holes. I set the depth stop on the drill press so every countersink is to the same depth. Now on to the 1/2 inch holes. Once again, this bit is slightly larger than 1/2 inch, so the router bits will fit nicely. I'm using an angle gauge to mark the angle I want the blocks to be mounted to the door. By mounting the blocks on an angle, the bits will be easier to get in and out. Using the same angle gauge with its angle still dialed in, I set the fence on my joiner and jointed the blocks until the angle went all the way across the bottom of the block. To glue down the block that will hold the crank to my router, I just added some weight instead of a clamp. I'm going to clean up the layout lines with an eraser. Just make it look a little prettier. It's now time to add the blocks to the door. Now I have a cross-grain glue up here, so I have to be careful on how I go about gluing this up. The panel needs to be able to move. I achieve this by screwing and gluing. The screws hold all the weight, and by putting some glue around the area of the screw, this will keep the block from spinning. Since the glue doesn't go all the way across the block, the panel can still move. I used a hammer to start the screw and then send it home with the driver. With an awl, I marked the position of the wooden peg that will hold the collet wrench and drill for the peg. Here's a trick that I use to mark out the door handle using masking tape. Tape down some tape so the sticky side is up. Place the handle on the tape and remove the tape holding the tape down. Using an awl or a pencil, mark the screw holes. Draw a parallel line where you would like the handle to go, then place the tape down in position by placing the two holes in the tape over the line. And then mark the holes with an awl. The hardware I got, and like most hardware, they're designed to work with a 3/4 inch door. My door is thicker than 3/4, so I must drill a recess to allow for the shortness of the screw, and I'm using a Forstner bit to do that. Now I can drill a through hole for the screw and add the hardware. I like this type of handle. There's nothing for power cords to get caught on. Now it's time to mount the door. I'm using some scrap boards to raise the door into position so I can mark the location of the hinges. I'm reusing the hinges from the old door. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm drilling a pilot hole for the screws. This will make it easier to hang the door. And I will screw the door into its final location. Well, here you have it. It's been great. I've used it for about a month now and I love it. It looks way too nice for the rest of the shiny turd that is my table saw station. Oh well, it's really functional, so that's all that matters. Until next time, thanks for coming to my shop.